But what we found out is that oftentimes those soldiers may not have the resources to actually pay for those services. And so oftentimes what happens if the soldier is unable to pay, oftentimes they actually leave the Guard because they're not able to meet the requirements that may be established for them. And so with the Substance Abuse Services Initiative, the SASE initiative, what happens is soldiers, it's a commander's program. So commanders who may find that a soldier has tested positive for a particular substance, then is able to refer that soldier for services and the cost of the assessment, as well as screening, brief interventions, some short counseling services. They're provided at no cost to that soldier. And so to date, we've almost been having the program now for a full year, and we have had 62 referrals since the inception. 45 referrals of those tested positive for THC or marijuana. So that appears to be one of the more popular substances. What the drug screens don't provide for is necessarily like alcohol, because they're a urine drug screen. But in addition to a soldier being referred by a commander because of a dirty drug screen, they can also be referred if that commander may have noticed or heard about other behaviors perhaps related to alcohol. But soldiers are also able to self-refer if they find themselves in a situation where perhaps they are concerned about their own alcohol use or their own substance use, then they are able to refer as well. So to date, we've also had 17 self-referrals. And so I just wanted to share that particular program with you. So it's a program that the Office of Behavioral Health, as well as the Louisiana National Guard, as well as Accenture Federal Services, they're a civilian-based agency that helps provide services. And so what I did do is on the table up here, it's like a little half sheet, well I guess it's more like a third sheet, where if you know or you have a National Guard soldier who is interested or wants to know more about substance abuse services that they possibly could avail themselves to, I've placed on here 3 different individuals that can be contacted directly to help them connect with services for them. And I just want to say that those providers that are actually providing these services as OBH providers, we have spent a lot of time with them educating them, both from the military perspective educating, to learn more about the military culture. And what are some of those things that the soldiers are experiencing? Their substance use, how is it related to their service? And so we have ongoing training. We've had some great speakers, both from a civilian perspective as well as from a military perspective, about what some of these soldiers are experiencing. So thank you so much for inviting us to come today, and happy birthday. And again, I have information about that particular program, as well as I will stay for the rest of the panel. So thank you very much.
I work with the Office of Aging and Adult Service at DHH. I want to tell you, Miss Louisiana, your poem meant so much to me. I'm an Army brat all my life. I am a daughter of a Vietnam veteran, and I can tell you, I know my father was in Vietnam in 1968. And having grown up in the Army all my life, that meant so much to me that I myself am a veteran. 30 years, United States Army Reserve. Thank you very much. I know you can't imagine that, because I'm often mistaken for Miss Louisiana. But yes, so this day is very important to me. I'm always appreciative of being able to speak to veterans, and so I take this opportunity very seriously. Today I'm here to talk to you about the Office of Age and Adult Services, where I work. I'm a geriatric social worker, not that I am geriatric, but I do work with older adults and persons who have adult onset disabilities. If I could tell you the most important thing that I would like for you to leave with today, we have a brochure, and it's on the table here. And we offer an array of services for older adults and persons who have adult onset disabilities. And there are so many that I'm not going to be able to have a chance to talk to them a lot. Sharon will talk to you about adult protective services today, but we offer services that are mainly to that are home and community-based services to help persons stay in the home so that they can have a choice in how they live. So they don't have to be in institutions. And some of these are not for the veterans themselves, but for families of veterans. But these are all good information for all of you. So there are many programs. The one that I'm in charge of is called the Long-Term Personal Care Services. These are services such as helping persons who might need help bathing, toileting, eating. I have what we call fact sheets, and they're up here. There are fact sheets on several of these programs, for like the Long-Term Personal Care Services program, the Adult Daycare Waiver program that we have. All of these programs we have we usually have to go through our single point of entry. So one of the most important things you need to know is there's a phone number that you call, and they'll do a screening, and they'll help walk you through this process. They'll give you information about the program, and they'll do a screening, and they'll tell you what might be the best program. They'll talk to you about what are the eligibility factors that you need to consider, and they'll help you through this process. So in the short amount of time that we have here, basically I want to tell you that this office is in DHH. They're geared to persons who are older adults or who have adult onset disabilities over the age of 21, and it's to help them live in the community with services so they can have a choice of where they live. And the most important thing to take here is the phone number, so you can call, ask them about the services. Our single point of entry is what we call it. Call, and they'll walk you through the process. They'll do the screening. They'll tell you about all the programs that we have, and then they'll mail you information about it as well. So phone number is here on this. But when you leave here, please take a brochure, and I also have my business card here for the Office of Age and Adult Services. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sharon Jackson, and I am the director for the Adult Protective Services program here in Louisiana. And as Jana mentioned, she has experience being in a military, having grown up in a military family, and years of service in the military. I think in our department, we are probably considered the military folk. Unlike Gina, I've never served, but I grew up in a military household. My father was a drill sergeant, Mr. Jeffers. So, the phrase, "Are you squared away, young lady?" resonates often in my ears. So I'm very proud to be here, and we jumped at the bit, and I volunteered Gina to come along with me today. So we are here recognizing not only our flag, but our servicemen and women. At Protective Services, the office that I represent, we are a large part of the protection of those individuals. Our office investigates elder abuse and neglect and abuse towards adults. Does anyone know Mickey Rooney? Ever hear of Mickey Rooney? Popular child star, served in World War II. About a year ago, Mickey Rooney testified before a Senate committee about his experience of having been abused, not only emotionally, but physically, and also exploited. Unfortunately, he's no longer here with us, but I just want to call attention to, abuse and neglect. It's everyone's issue, and we often see it with our veterans. Last year, our office served over 100 veterans. Usually it's an older veteran. Sometimes we get calls where one's self-neglecting or someone's exploiting them, and also it involves our more serious types of abuse, sexual and physical abuse. So what I want to share with you today is help us to protect our servicemen and women. We have offices throughout the state, and we do it in a way which is also in a protective sense, and also in a respectful sense. We respect all of our citizens who've come into our system, and especially our veterans. Everyone who knows me knows I have a place for veterans. When veterans come to our office, I'm like, is it a vet? But certainly be aware that our agency exists, and I have some handouts to share with you. And if you want to jot down our 1-800 number, if you care to make a report, if you suspect that there is abuse, you can also make reports anonymously. You don't have to give your name. We just ask that you make a good faith report, and we will investigate and we provide services. I mentioned respect. We take into consideration what the adult wants. We just don't charge in and, remove people and disrespect an adult's rights. We take those things into consideration when we're providing protection. So, having said all of those things, let me give you our number. It's 1-800-898-4910. And that's a toll-free number, which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And again, you don't have to leave your name if you choose not to. My only hope is that if you suspect abuse, to report it. Thank you. It's 1-800-898-4910. And thank you for your attention.
Hi, my name is Nicole Swayze. I get to serve as the Executive Director of the Louisiana Housing Authority. Under the leadership of Fred Tombar, the Executive Director of the Louisiana Housing Corporation. And I'm here today to talk to you about homeless veterans. I'm also an Air Force brat, so I'm very familiar with the military, lots of military veterans in my family. But every year, organizations that receive homeless funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development are required to do what is called a point-in-time count. It's the third week in January where we attempt to get a census of how many people are living homeless on the streets, in emergency shelter, and wherever they are. And in 2014, there were 199 homeless veterans in this state that we were able to count. So as you can imagine, there are more than likely more than those 199. So we are working very closely at the moment with the Department of Veterans Affairs to try and end homelessness in Louisiana amongst our veterans. Nationally, the president has set a goal of ending homelessness amongst our veterans by the end of 2015. We're going to do the same thing here in Louisiana, and we hope to actually do it before the end of 2015. The program that we hope to accomplish this with, that I administer, is a permanent supportive housing program. We have project-based vouchers, so we are going to target veterans to get them off the street into the housing where they can stay as long as they like, as long as they're complying with the lease terms. And then we're going to work with the VA to provide the case management support so that they're able to stay and live independently in the community. We work closely with our friends over at the Department of Health and Hospitals in this program, so I'm confident and hope that you join us in ending veteran homelessness by the end of 2015. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, ma'am, for including us in this event. I'm Lisa Charles, and I'm with the Louisiana Workforce Commission, and I am the director of the State Veterans Program. And so what we do there is we work with veterans, and we help them achieve training and education so that they can become job ready and join the workforce. We work with veterans because we want to help them translate, we want to help them translate their skill sets that they learned in the military that are not always easily transferable into the civilian world. And we help them extrapolate the things that they did learn in the military and the training that they did receive so that they can apply it in the civilian world, because a lot of our veterans do sell themselves short on their resumes when they just put the basic stuff that they did in the military. It's kind of hard to translate, and so we do that, and we help veterans receive the training, the education, and all of those barriers to employment that they have. That is what we do. We help them overcome those barriers to employment. I am also a combat veteran. I served in the Air Force, so I want to thank all of our fellow veterans and their service for their service. There is no greater honor for a veteran or a service member than to look at this nation's flag and know what all of it that it represents, and it's the freedom that we all enjoy, and knowing that we serve to preserve the blanket of freedom that everyone else enjoys, that those who did not serve. So it's our pleasure to do that for y'all. And as a token of appreciation, I ask veterans, if you have questions about employment or training or anything that y'all need, please reach out to us at the Workforce Commission. We exist solely to help qualified veterans receive that training to take them into the path of being job ready or employed. And I also ask employers to reach out to us. give those veterans an opportunity for employment. They are great assets to you. I guess some employers don't realize how awesome these veterans can be for their organization. So if any employers are out there that are interested in hiring veterans, please reach out to the Louisiana Workforce Commission and we will find a qualified veteran for you to employ. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that y'all have during the panel, but thank y'all again for your time, and thank you, Representative Barrow, for the opportunity. Thank you.
I am going to also tell you what the Louisiana legislature has been attempting to do for the many veterans. We just had so many that were going and being deployed from National Guard units and our active Army units. And so with having several large posts, reservations, bases here in Louisiana, we have quite a few military personnel. And so the problems that they have when they deploy and go and come, those are really tough on the family. And it's just, it makes them at a disadvantage. So we try to recognize the veterans' service and honor it by taking care of them in our laws and don't do anything that would harm them, whether it's intentional or not. And so I'm just going to go real quickly. In the last 3 years, I was requested to go over what we've done in 2012 for active military and veterans. We created legislation in the House for students who enlist in the armed forces to retain their Taylor Opportunity Program for students as TOPS. Their eligibility. In other words, it interrupts the prescriptive period in which they have to get their education using their benefits for TOPS. So that was very necessary because we want these people re-entering our society and we want to provide an education if we can help them get it. We have another that from the House also. See, I'm from the Senate. House Bill 435 in 2012. It provided that most veterans qualify for in-state tuition at public colleges, regardless of the length of time they have been residents in the state. And generally, the law was before that you had to be in the state for a year before you were recognized as living here, a citizen. So the legislature saw some inequities in that, and the House passed a bill, and I'm so glad the Senate signed it too. We have done a number of bills that honor veterans by giving them veteran designation license plates. I know that this year we passed a bill that would honor people who've received a high medal, a distinguished service cross, or the equivalent in the other services. You can get that. I think they passed another one for those warriors in the Army, the Rangers. And you can designate, if you can prove up that you have, you're Ranger qualified, you get a license plate, and it doesn't cost you a nickel more. Do that for those people who are just the top of our armed forces. Also, starting in the House once again, we passed legislation that provides if you've got some sort of training or an occupational license, if you are in the active military here, the service member or their spouse, if they've got a license, say for nursing, but I mean, you could do it for if they were an architect or a doctor or a physician or a lawyer or whatever, we'll recognize those and we'll recognize those and allow them to engage in their occupation in Louisiana. And so that doesn't make them, unable to use their licensure. Here's one that sports fans will be very interested in. It's in 2012. We had a House Bill 631, which allowed the children of military families who have relocated or come back into Louisiana or gone from one base in Louisiana to another to participate immediately and not have a time period that they have to be there at that new school before they can play in the athletic program. It was we were just discouraging them from participating. We created in 2012 also, due to the number of service people that we had deployed to the combat zones, that we would create a Louisiana Military Advisory Council within the Department of Economic Development. And concerns the installation and units and forces located in Louisiana. It's composed of the governor and a number of high-ranking officials, the adjutant general and the legislature, and a number of other members that are appointed by the governor. And they would look at veterans' problems, study them, and make decisions on where they wanted to point legislation that would, be aimed at taking care of a problem, resolving an issue. Beginning in 2012 and 2013 academic year, this was another House bill by Representative LaRusso. He's a veteran and just retired, I think, not too long ago. But he handles a lot of veterans issues, as Miss Barrow does as well. I like your burn pit. But that would, person who resides in the state can, a student who is enrolled in or is applying for enrollment in a Louisiana public college or university, it says, who has served in the armed forces as defined by federal law and who meets certain other eligibility requirements shall be entitled to reside as a resident, the resident classification, for tuition purposes. So they won't have to pay the higher fees of an out-of-state student. And so that's another area where we're encouraging an education and trying to help servicemen and their families achieve it. Okay, now here's a big one you're going to get a chance to do something about this fall at the November 4th elections. And that is, we're trying to provide, and the legislature has passed it, but it's a constitutional amendment. So it needs the vote of and approval of the people, all the electorate. And that would be to provide tax exemptions for veterans and their spouses, and provide eligibility terms for claiming the exemption.
9th annual Flag Day event. I would hope that you would join us next year. Next year will represent 10 years. And next year we are planning for a parade, and it's going to be on a Sunday. So I'm asking you to please mark your calendars now to save the date for June 14th, 2015. Flag Day event and a parade. So we're going to start working on it early. We would like to have many of you participate and be a part of it. So at this time, we certainly thank you for coming out. We have refreshments to my right, and if you will get up and go to my right, there will be refreshments in that room, and you can get your box and your drink, and please make sure that you avail yourself to this great information as well. Thank you so much for coming, and I'm going to cut my birthday cake too. Flag Day has just been really, the importance of our freedom and knowing that freedom truly is not free, and really taking the time to understand that our flag represent who we are as a country.
Tell us the importance of having young people involved in today's program.
I believe that's important because sometimes they don't understand the importance of the flag and don't understand the importance of our freedom. And so I think by taking a moment to really reflect, to share, to educate, that lets them know that truly we should not take our freedom for granted.
When the program is over, what would you like people to keep in mind?
I would like people to keep in mind the importance of the flag and the importance of our military, making sure that we let them know how much we appreciate them and how much we appreciate them representing our country.